here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Strange.
Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
Did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena. And
Most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
So last night there was a city commission meeting in Lynn Haven, and it was very, very interesting. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to show you a couple of videos, but I made one today after I heard that the Lynn Haven mayor, Jesse Nelson, made just another one of his crazy comments. And he is as big a gaslighter as I have ever seen in public office. And I've seen a few, but he is right there at the top. I'm going to show you the video about that and how he contradicts himself. Also, the meeting yesterday was very contentious. The city manager, Vicki Gaynor, who replaced Michael White, who was indicted and pled guilty for public corruption fraud. She has been there about 3 years, and she's making about $140,000 a year as a Lynn Haven city manager. Remember, it's a city manager strong government, so she is in charge of all of the employees, but she answers to the commissioners, to the 5 commissioners. So at any time, if 3 commissioners decide that they want to fire a city manager, they can do that at any time. The charter, I believe, calls that working at the pleasure of the city commission. But in light of the stuff that's been coming out in court documents that names her, some people, including me, believe that this should have been put off until after the trial, which is going to take place November 28th. The trial, of course, is for former Mayor Margo Anderson and developer James Finch, who have not pled guilty. They're the only 2 in all the public corruption in Lynn Haven, especially following the hurricane, that have not pled guilty. They say they are not guilty and they're willing to go to trial, and the trial scheduled to begin November 28th. And so there were reasons, and Jamie Warwick, Commissioner Jamie Warwick, who I think is a fantastic city commissioner, he said that it was a 5-0 vote. He said he was going to go ahead and vote for it because he believed that until, if there's anything that comes out in the trial that indicates that the city manager, Vicki Gaynor, was doing, anything illegal, then they could act at that time. All right. So, but the comments, the community comments, the public commentary, as they call it in Lynn Haven, they're pretty spicy. All right. So you had accusations of racism, unbelievably ugly. You had planted speakers. I'll show you one of them that struck me. You had the mayor who sort of reprimanded speakers that he didn't appreciate their public comments, but he allowed others to turn around and talk to the audience, make accusations of horrific accusations to members of the audience. But I'll tell you what I noticed as I was watching this. There is, if you want to find out what's going on in local government, you just turn on WMBB, right? And you'll find out. They report on the news, right? They report. No, they don't. No, WMBB is public-private partners with local government, as is WJHG and as is the News Herald. So if you want to find out and see things and hear opinions as well, the Beacon of Bay County on Facebook, run by Jody Moore and Jerry Parker, Gap Parker, that is now, I believe they have 2.6 thousand followers on Facebook. So if you want to find out what the news isn't telling you, really there are two places you can go about these issues. One is here, and the other is the Beacon of Bay County. So if you haven't already followed that page, you should. They have clearly become a problem for local government local government officials who don't want you to know what are in the court documents and so on and so forth, because they had planted speakers coming from other places. One of the things whenever you see, one of the hallmarks, let's say, of corrupt local government is when you see planted speakers who are there to make the case for whatever they're trying to do. And last night, what they were trying to do was to make sure that Vicky Gaynor got a 4-year extension. See, there's going to be an election coming up in the spring, and they wanted to get her the 4-year contract before that, because there's going to be it could be a new mayor, it could be different city commissioners. So it's important. The establishment likes her in that spot. They also like Mayor Jesse Nelson in that spot a whole lot. During the meeting, I noticed that Mayor Nelson was looking at his phone at one point. Looks like he got a text message or something. And then a few minutes later, he made a comment about it. Like somebody, and in fact, it was this. At about the 45-minute mark is, you can find the meeting on YouTube, City of Lynn Haven Commission meetings. They were discussing, the commission they were discussing the 4-year contract for the city manager. And Mayor Nelson looks at his phone while Commissioner Jamie Warwick was talking. And when Jamie Warwick finished talking, Mayor Nelson asks, how many emails or other kinds of messages did you receive about this issue? Somebody told him to say that. And the point that they're hoping is that not too many, right? Not too many. It's really, the opposition is being manufactured by racists, by people who have personal vendettas. That's the implication that they're trying to make. Ugly stuff. So I made a public record request today. I would like to see the messages that Mayor Nelson receives during the meetings. Those are public records. And we'll see who messaged him and who told him what to say. What else? So the two things I want to tell you right now, a couple of things I want to say right now, is when there are planted speakers, public comments, that is a red flag. When they start, when I say they, the establishment, when they start attacking you, that means you're making a difference. So Beacon of Bay County has just moved up in terms of the difference that they're making for the community. I think it was Gandhi who said this. First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. then they fight you, and then you win. So I have been stuck in between the third and the fourth spots for a while, but Beacon of Bay County is moving up into that third spot because they definitely watch them and do not like them. But they're making an honest effort to tell you the truth. They are pursuing the truth, and the truth will have its day, one way or another. If the trial takes place, the truth's really going to have its day, because people are going to be pulled up onto the witness stand, put under oath, and ask questions in a federal courtroom. It's going to be incredible. All right, I'm going to show you a couple of things right now. I'm going to show you the video I made of Mayor Nelson's latest gaslighting and what it means, if you're not familiar with the term. And I'm also going to show you a planted public comment that sort of stuck out. And this comment that you're going to see is, in my opinion, really shows you what happens when you have a combination of I don't know, ignorance and or worse, because they were dishonest and they were made toward the audience. And Mayor Nelson didn't bother him at all. Only when the Beacon members said anything at all did Mayor Nelson say, look, we need to straighten it up around here. All right, so let's take a look at the video. I think you're going to really appreciate the video coming up right after this. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com.
Hand caught in the cookie jar? Sometimes bad habits continue even into adulthood. I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
All right, let's take a look at the video I made today and Mayor Nelson's latest gaslighting. All right, here we go.
I don't work for Think Realty.
You don't work for Think?
No, I don't, and I never have.
Okay. Well, that is part of the Kirkman Group. Is that correct?
I don't work with the Kirkman Group either.
All right. So you're not working as a real estate agent at all?
I am, but
okay,
not with the companies you stated.
All right.
You know, I probably should set this up for you a little bit. So just last month, I had an interview with Mayor Nelson, and he insisted that it be recorded. It was a phone interview. And in that recorded phone interview, I was asking him why he was in an office, a shared office building where candidate Brian Cloudis, what he called his headquarters. It was unusual. It was unusual, but they had plausible deniability. I mean, a reason. That's what I mean to say. They had a reason. And the reason was that Mayor Jesse Nelson is now a real estate agent. Okay. He's got his real estate license. And he was, which you'll hear in a minute, he was extremely adamant that he worked with, he was extremely adamant here. Let me make sure I get this right. That he worked with the Kirkman Group. Okay. The Kirkman Group. It's a realtor. And this is a month ago. Just a few weeks ago. He works with the Kirkman Group. So when this lady asks him about it, he says he doesn't work there. Does not work with the Kirkman Group. What? All right. So that's what's happening here, right? Because just weeks ago, he was adamant about it, and she's saying something about it, and he says, I don't work there. That was weird. Here you go.
I don't work for Think Realty.
You don't work for Think?
No, I don't, and I never have.
Okay. Well, that is part of the Kirkman Group. Is that
I don't.
correct?
I don't work with the Kirkman Group either.
All right. So you're not
It's not part of the Kirkman Group, by the way, according to Scott Kirkman, who I spoke to today.
working as a real estate agent at all?
I am, but
Okay.
not with the companies you stated.
All right. Well, if you would please disclose who exactly you're working for.
I don't have to. Thank you.
I've seen your picture on a real estate.
I don't have any real estate signs posted, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't have any real estate signs posted, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well,
Matter of fact, you can go to the Kirkman Group's Facebook page, see my face in the picture of being a part of the group at the Hive. I was at the Kirkman Group's desk because I sell real estate. I'm a licensed real estate agent with the Kirkman Group. My wife is also a licensed real estate agent with the Kirkman Group. I had an appointment this morning in Chipley, Florida at 11:30 a.m., which I went to the Kirkman Group's desk to print my paperwork off so that I could be prepared for my appointment this morning for my showing in Chipley, Florida.
I don't work for Think Realty.
you don't work for Think?
No, I don't, and I never have.
Okay. Well, that is part of the Kirkman Group. Is that
I don't.
correct?
I don't work with the Kirkman Group either.
All right. So you're not working as a real estate agent at all?
I am, but
Okay.
not with the companies you
If
stated.
you would please disclose who exactly you're working for.
I don't have to. Thank you.
All right. So what makes this gaslighting? What makes this gaslighting? Well, he could have just said, I used to work there, but actually now I'm working with whatever realtor he's working with, whatever real estate group he's working with. I don't know of real estate agents who don't want you to know where they work, right? Usually real estate agents give you a card, call me if you need me. If you're looking for a house, they want everybody to know where to find them. But what makes this gaslighting is Jesse Nelson, the mayor here, did not exactly lie. Okay. What he said was all technically correct. And I know this from a phone call that I had today. I called Scott Kirkman, the owner of the Kirkman Group. And we had a very nice conversation for, 20 or 30 minutes. Most of it, happily, was not about this. All right. We talked about life. We talked about, nice stuff. But he did tell me, because I asked him, did Mayor Nelson work with the Kirkman Group? And he said yes, for about 6 weeks. He worked there for about 6 weeks. I said, when did he leave the Kirkman Group? Because this is new. He said, a couple of weeks ago. I said, why? Why did he leave the Kirkman Group? He was adamant about it, as you heard. And he said, well, we had a personal conversation and I'd like to keep that personal. Right? Okay, I can respect that. And Scott Kirkman also told me that it is not uncommon for real estate agents to, what did he call it? Go sort of brokerage hopping, I think is what he called it. In other words, it's not uncommon for real estate agents to go from one brokerage to another, or one firm to another, or one group to another. So, but the point is, Mayor Nelson knows that he told us adamantly that he was with the Kirkman Group. And so to sit there and act like we're crazy, or that the lady is crazy for thinking that he works for the Kirkman Group. And then when she says, well, will you disclose, where do you work? I don't have to tell you. That is a form of gaslighting, to make you think that your memory, you didn't remember it right, that to make you look crazy in front of everybody else. Why would Mayor Jesse Nelson do that? Why does he do these things to people? He is one of the most difficult people I've ever seen to have a conversation with. He and somebody asked me, as a matter of fact, Scott Kirkman asked me, what is your point here? Why are you asking about this? I said, well, because he got on my radar as a candidate 2 years ago when he, under oath, posted on the Supervisor of Elections webpage that he had a doctor of leadership. Under oath. He does not have a doctor of leadership. He has a doctor of ministry. He does. He earned it from an accredited institution. It's a professional doctor degree. But he makes a huge deal about it, and he tries to make you feel crazy for asking questions. So there are many reasons that I am that Jesse Nelson is on my radar. He's not at the top, but I think that the voters in spring have a chance to put somebody in there who's willing to answer simple questions like, well, geez, where do you work now? What group are you with now? Right? Instead of trying to make you feel crazy. From what Scott Kirkman told me, Think Real Estate Group, Think Real Estate is not part of the Kirkman Group. Those are separate. So I tried to put that in there, and I'm telling you now what I was told. But he acted, didn't he? If you watch it again, he acts as though he never had anything to do with the Kirkman Group. He could have said, yeah, I used to work there, but I left a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm over here if anybody wants to get a house. Could have said it with a smile. It would have been fantastic. Am I right or wrong? But that is the sort of vibe he brings to these meetings. Hey, who just texted you while you're up there? That's a public record. He also, by the way, I forgot to tell Scott this, but he lied, and I showed you this a few weeks ago when he said that candidate Brian Cloudis refused to meet with him while he was campaigning. I showed you emails that revealed that 4 weeks before the election, he asked Mayor Nelson if he could meet with him formally and in writing. Mayor Nelson gave him a half-hour window on the very same day while he was knocking on doors. Brian Cloudis said, can we make it another time? Mayor Nelson said, nope, I'm busy. But he said the lie, and it was a lie, he said that he refused to meet with me. This is a problem. This is a mayor of Lynn Haven that is going through a recovery process with rampant public corruption. The city attorney pled guilty. The city manager pled guilty. Millions and millions of dollars were stolen through fraudulent billing. It's incredible. And that's the vibe that he brings. All right. I want to show you, though, one of the public comments at the meeting. And more of this sort of gaslighting, more from a public commenter, more of this sort of everybody's crazy. You guys are doing a great job. Remember, it's really important when you find planted public comments at city commission meetings. That is a red flag. All right. Let me show you this right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right. So now I'm just going to pick, and this is all on YouTube. All right. The person who's about to make the public comment is I think he's a realtor or an insurance agent. probably an insurance agent. You see his signs all over the place. Love Chuck is his name. And he is entitled to his opinions and all of that stuff. But this is what I mean. And it caught my attention because of his personal attacks on really the founders of the Beacon of Bay County, who had already gone up and expressed their concerns about giving a 4-year contract to the city manager at more than $140,000 a year when her name has come up in court filings having to do with this rampant corruption. That's not to say that Vicky Gaynor did it. I'm not saying that Vicky Gaynor did it, but I'm saying that enough questions are raised that it would be prudent to do this afterward. The city attorney pointed out that her contract expires within the month or so. And so, we kind of need to do this. All right. I don't know. I don't know what their city charter says. There are a lot of city managers who don't have contracts that dictate how many years they're the city manager. They just simply are the city manager until the commission decides they want somebody else. There's not a time frame. And so I don't know if there has to be a time frame according to the city charter. I sort of doubt it, but I don't know that to be a fact. But my point with showing you this is, well, let's watch these public comments, and you will see how snarky, how condescending his comments are. And it's all because of the hard work of the Beacon of Bay County on Facebook, who I highly recommend you follow, who are really doing a good job to go there and to have to face off against all these people, all these men who make terrible accusations about your motives. Look, I do it. And I tell you, I feel like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. It is not fun. It is not easy. And before a meeting, I have nervous indigestion all day. It is not fun to go there and square off against power when you believe that there's wrongdoing there. And then there are planted speakers there to mock you. Okay? Hey, you got to endure it without complaining. One speaker suggested that people with different points of view should not be permitted to come up there. Called it slander, called it incitement, and all kinds of other stuff. Right? Does that sound like democracy to you? All right, let's take a listen to these public comments, which I found to be snarky at best.
Good morning, Michael Lupchuk, 1624 Country Club Drive, Lynn Haven. I actually live in the city of Lynn Haven and pay taxes to the city of Lynn Haven. And,
see how he's talking at them?
I don't give you permission to video me.
Okay, I'll try not to do this throughout the whole thing, but oh my goodness. So the first thing is he's turning around and talking to Jody Moore, the founder of the Beacon, because she was videotaping the meeting. It is a public meeting. All right. So the gentleman does not have an expectation of privacy. I don't give you permission to videotape me. We don't need your permission, Jack. All right. You're already being recorded and live streamed. I don't give you permission you're not the boss. Number one. Number two, I actually live here, unlike these, he only complains about the ones he disagrees with, unlike these interlopers who live right there. There's a guy who goes there named Tony Bostic. And Tony Bostic makes comments that I hear that I absolutely disagree with. But I have met Tony Bostic. I have seen him speak. I've talked to him on several occasions. And I kind of like him. I like his conviction. he believes there's the motivation here against Vicky Gaynor getting the 4-year extension is racism. I disagree with Tony about that, big time. But I respect the fact that he goes to meetings, he makes his case, he's unequivocal, and he doesn't live in Lynn Haven, but he has every right to be there. And this guy should understand that. I don't know. I'm a little extra sensitive about people who go to meetings and pretend that you don't belong here. Yes, you do. You're an American, and don't ever let anybody, even if it's not the city you live in, it affects you. You have every right to be there. And Tony Bostic made that point. All right, take a listen to this. All right, I live here. And and the last thing is Mayor Nelson, when Jody Moore went up to speak a little bit later, reprimanded her for turning around and talking one sentence to somebody, one sentence. But he allows this guy, a powerful person in the community who's on a bunch of billboards, he gets to turn around and make snarky comments to everybody. Okay, let's listen. I'll try not to do this again.
Lynn Haven. I actually live in the city of Lynn Haven and pay taxes to the city of Lynn Haven. And I don't give you permission to okay. You got a video right there. Still confused. But my very first meeting I went to about 3+ years ago, our prior mayor did nothing but repeat over and over disparaging remarks to our then city mayor, Vicky, over and over and over again. And I couldn't figure out why. And then it's fine that it's the same circle that she associated with, people that don't live in the city of Lynn Haven, that just have this negative aura that I just can't seem to grasp the fact that we've got so many positive things that are being.
Wait. You can't seem to grasp it. There are court filings coming out. There's a trial coming up. They didn't pull this stuff out of thin air. There are people up there whose names are in these filings. He just can't understand it. He just can't understand why this is happening. When there's so much positivity, don't be a little circle of haters. How condescending, how snarky. And I'll tell you what, you might think that will slow down watchdogs like the Beacon of Bay County, but all you're doing is lighting a fire under their asses. So come back again to the meetings, Mr. I belong here and you don't.
Done in the city of Lynn Haven, that you've got that little tiny 0.5% that's still screaming like she was screaming 3+ years ago at a meeting, that we've got to let that go. I've been at social events and I've had pictures taken with people that I knew, that I sort of knew, that I casually knew, and a picture's taken. I just want to say thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jesse, Mr. Aldridge, Mr. Perno. You don't have a name tag. Ms. Judy, love the food. Jamie, look, thank you for being positive. Thank you for driving things forward. Thank you for continuing to get things done. I can't believe how incredible our new hall is going to be there. The parks, the kids are out there playing, have a good time. We got music festivals going on. We got everything. And we don't have to worry about somebody was one time working sometime in a different department and down the same hall that they did, and they knew because they were in the same, and they were breathing that, and then they took a picture because they were in a party with a social group with a bunch of people. What the hell does that got to do?
Do you see what he's doing? This is also a form of gaslighting. This is extremely, extremely dishonest. What he is saying is, just because some people make rumors around town, right? Just because some people have personal vendettas and make rumors around town and do just what he just did, by the way, say that you're guilty by association. You're guilty because you used to work with the Lynn Haven attorney who pled guilty, or you used to work with the former Lynn Haven manager who pled guilty. You know, don't just you shouldn't apply guilt by association. Well, he just does that. There's a small circle of people who are negative, don't even live around here, and they're just saying because somebody heard something in a hallway. Do you know how dumb you sound? I mean, when I see these kind of planted comments, no, just so you know, you can read the court documents yourself. The straw man that you're setting up doesn't exist. This is dishonest for people who are watching, trying to understand what's happening. I told you before, Tony Bostic, who goes up there, who went up there last time, gosh, he and I agree about a lot of things, but we couldn't disagree more on what I heard him say at the Lynn Haven meeting. But you know, one thing I know about Tony Bostic is that he's convicted and he means what he says. This speaker here, who's on all the billboards, he either doesn't know what he's talking about, he's making it up, or he's misleading you. It's not just innuendo. It's not just a small circle of people from somewhere else don't like somebody. Wow. All right. I got to let this play through.
Jamie, look, thank you for being positive. Thank you for driving things forward. Thank you for continuing to get things done. I can't believe how incredible our new hall is going to be there. The parks, the kids are out there playing, have a good time. We got music festivals going on. We got everything. And we don't have to worry about somebody was one time working sometime in a different department and down the same hall that they did. And they knew because they were in the same, and they were breathing that. And then they took a picture because they were in a party with a social.
Okay. So I think what he's talking about, Miss Sarah Moon, is there was a picture was brought up a couple of times. All right. And then other speakers were mocking it. I think they're talking about the picture of Jesse Nelson, who, first of all, Jesse Nelson, here's another lie. Mayor Nelson claimed that he was in the picture with the Kirkman group, that he was in their group picture. He in fact, it was in the video I just played. He was not in the group picture, but he was in a picture on the Kirkman group's page. So the lady who had gone up earlier, who said, I got a picture of you with the Kirkman group. What are you talking about? That's what he's doing. He's trying to make fun of the speakers who were up before him. You're not from here. You got a picture. He's just being very snarky and condescending.
Social group with a bunch of people. What the hell does that got to do with anything besides how great the city of Lynn Haven's doing right now? And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being positive, and thank you for the folks that spoke in positive nature. From a resident of the city of Lynn Haven.
Thank you.
All right.
Additional public commentary.
Yep. All right. I mean, I could go on and show you all these. This was one hell of a meeting yesterday, but I'm not. I can't. I just can't. All right. Let's see. Oh boy. I don't know the answer to that. I guess he's a State Farm agent. I don't know if he did or not. I just don't know. Yeah, it was way off subject, and the mayor made a point earlier, later rather. He allowed him to say that stuff, but somebody he disagrees with. Yeah, that's so true. Chase O'Lee. So what Miss Sarah Moon's talking about is in the city of Panama City Beach, a few years back, there was a city councilman who ran for office claiming to be a federal law enforcement officer. And I kept asking him to verify that. And after a year of asking him, he sued me for defamation. And during that discovery process, I put him under oath and deposed him. I did. Bernie, the attorney here. I conducted the deposition on video. And it turns out he was an electrician at a prison. And he said that made him a federal law enforcement officer. Okay. And he said a lot of other things too, by the way. You can find it on YouTube. It's unbelievable. And as a matter of fact, here's where it is on YouTube. And if you are not following the YouTube page, I hope you will. I have many more of you here, but I sure would like it if you would subscribe to the YouTube page, channel, The Bernie Thompson Show on YouTube. And if you look through those videos, you'll find my deposition of Hector Solis. He was also a tremendous gaslighter. There have been 3 that stand out to me. Hector Solis, he's identical to Mayor Jesse Nelson in the way he doesn't answer questions, or he asks you a question and it makes you feel like, I mean, it's unbelievable. Also former Panama City Beach city councilman Jeff McConnell. Impossible to have a conversation, and they always accuse you of doing what they themselves are doing. And so that's what the reference is, Che 2.0. It really is incredible, the similarities. There are other elected officials I've been known to stay on for quite a while. Former Mayor Mike Thomas, for example. Who else? Former Mayor Mike Thomas especially. But I'll tell you something about former Mayor Mike Thomas. I respect him a lot in a way, because he, for the most part, owns who he is. He doesn't pretend to have a doctor of leadership. He doesn't pretend to be a federal law enforcement officer. He says, I own a diner. I'm a businessman, and I'm a mayor. All right. And he owns who he is. Mike is Mike and doesn't pretend to be anything but him. And I respect that. What I don't respect are complete and utter frauds, gaslighters. Now, Mayor Mike Thomas, I believe, was corrupt as well. I watched him trade a road for a vote when he was the deciding factor. The FBI saw it. The Sheriff's Office Public Trust Unit saw it. Completely against the law. But, you know, they've got other priorities. That's the reference to Che Solis. And I nicknamed Hector Solis Che, after Che Guevara, because he was a left-leaning authoritarian and a real piece of work. He wanted, just to give you an idea why I nicknamed him Che, he wanted to give police officers binoculars so they could watch people on the beach. And if they were drinking a beer out of a glass bottle, they could go down there and get them. Or if they caught somebody drinking, like a grandma drinking wine on the beach in April, they got their binoculars, they're looking around. They'll probably miss the grandma, but they'll catch the girl in the bikini, you know, and she got a glass bottle. Woo, woo. I mean, this dude was unbelievable. You talk about authoritarianism. So I nicknamed him Che. Lynn Haven, you've got a real opportunity in April to fix this mess. And I think you're going to do it, actually. I think you're going to do it. But I just had to share this with you. When I heard last night that Mayor Nelson said that he doesn't work with the Kirkman Group, after that was such a big deal just weeks ago. And if you missed that part of the show, you do yourself a favor and watch that part of the show. The short 2-minute video I made. Was that unbelievable, or was that unbelievable? Hearing him say one thing and another thing, and technically he's right. He doesn't work there anymore, but he didn't say that. He tries to make you feel like you're crazy for even asking the question. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. If you appreciate my work and you want to support my work, here's how you can do it. You can become a patron at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's like giving a tip. It's how I survive, barely. It's how I survive through group funding and through sponsors. It is, by the way, if you decide you want to become a patron, it's anonymous. It's anonymous. It's easy, and you can quit at any time, as little as $5 a month. Without you, I could not do this. I can't tell you how important it is, and I hope that you'll become a patron. Also, I want to thank my sponsors, to include, of course, the Unknown Patriot. Thank you, Unknown Patriot, for supporting my efforts to tell you what the news won't tell you, because they are public-private partners now. You know, I explained this about 10 years ago. This was important, how news has changed over the years, okay? At a local level and a national level. Newspapers 20 years ago. 20 years ago, newspapers, they cared about they always care about where they get their money. And they got their money through subscribers. So the news wanted to please their subscribers. But as technology advanced and so on and so forth, they had fewer subscribers. And then most of their revenue came from advertisers. And then they wanted to please the advertisers, not so much the subscribers. That's when things began to change for newspapers. And then the politicians like George Gaynor realized, well, hell, if they're catering to advertisers and I buy the most advertising, then pretty soon you get politicians and powerful people who are advertising big time to where they can make a phone call to the editor and control the news. That was about 10 years ago. But then there was another big change in the news in 2015. 80% of news outlets around the country have been bought by 6 corporations: Disney, AT&T, Verizon, those kind of companies. Those companies decided that rather than lobbying Congress like they did in 2011, 2012, rather than just lobbying Congress and having the news report on it, why not just buy the news and turn the news outlets into their own PR firms? So that's what's happened. And then you've got Amazon's owner, Jeff Bezos, in 2012, bought the Washington Post. So now the Washington Post is Jeff Bezos' personal newspaper. It's the DC rag. So that was a big change. They are not new. It's not news anymore. It's PR. It's corporate PR. They're owned by these corporations. And then you've got a third factor now over the last, especially about 5 years. You've got people like Mayor Mark Sheldon, Panama City Beach, who gets $1.5 million a year from the Tourist Development Council. The mayor's company gets $1.5 million a year since 2015, every year, to put on Gulf Coast Jam and Sand Jam. Mayor Mark Sheldon's companies own Sand Jam and Gulf Coast Jam, and they're paid for by the Tourist Development Council. So he takes that money, and about $735,000 of it is marketing money. He uses that money and he spends it with the parent companies of local news. So local news outlets won't dare say anything that Mark Sheldon doesn't want them to say, or the TDC. It's a big racket. So you don't get local news. You don't get national news, except from a few places, and especially independent sources like here. And I can only do that from you being a patron and from you being a sponsor. It's the only way we're going to get news that's not controlled by big corporations or government. You say, Bernie, you've got your own biases. Fair. I do. In this regard, public trust is paramount to me. Paramount. And it is so important. And elected officials, government officials, they hold a public trust. I'm less mad at the Derwin Whites, who passed away last year, if he tried to bribe government officials, than I am the government officials who have a public trust, who have the responsibility to say no. So my focus is on government officials. But the news outlets also hold a public trust. And it makes me even more angry that they have sold you out. I'm one guy doing the best I can, pursuing the truth, which can be elusive. I'm not always right. I tell you that I'm the first one to say when I'm wrong. It's just I'm the last one to know, right? You say, but Bernie, you're just saying what your sponsors and what your crowdfunding wants you to say. If you believe that, look up an article. Just search it online. Washington Times, Bernie Thompson. Washington Times, Bernie Thompson. It was really about the nicest article ever written about me in 2017. The Washington Times called me a local hero because I was trying to tell you the truth, and I was willing to get fired because they wanted me to lie to you on Talk Radio 101. They took away my livelihood, and I would do it 100 times. I would do it 100 more times because I will not lie to you to keep a job at local media. I would rather walk a tightrope with no net and rely on crowdfunding and sponsors. It's not a business model I'd recommend to you, by the way. Do not try this. It is very painful. But I will do my very best to tell you the truth. And if the truth is that Governor Scott, which I did in 2014, I had to tell you that Governor Scott signed a bill to let illegal aliens become lawyers. And for that, Governor Scott stopped inviting me to the governor's mansion. I had a big radio show at the time throughout Florida. I got fired later in 2014 because I wasn't, Bernie, don't talk about Governor Scott. The Christmas gift, I used to get this little thing. There's something down here. You can't see it. I got from Senator Don Gates one time for Christmas. And after I got on his butt about something, I don't remember what it was. That was it. No more invitations to the governor's mansion. That was pretty cool. That was pretty damn cool. Talk about access, right? Pretty cool. Sitting around with friends, the governor calls you, feel like a big shot. All I had to do was not criticize them. I will forego all of that to protect public trust. My livelihood is not worth losing this country. Is not worth losing the county, is not worth losing the city, is not worth letting cronies, Republican or Democrat, continue to line their pockets and use law enforcement in elections. Not going to happen. Instead, I'll do my very best to tell you the truth. And where I have shortcomings, I apologize. Whew, how about that? Now, that's the most boring 5 minutes you're going to have all week. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you soon.